It was the year 2016, and I found myself in a situation that felt like an oxymoron, feeling completely lost, yet about to discover a life changing secret. I was in Moscow, Russia, and I was desperately looking for an English speaking activity. And that's how one fine evening I stumbled into an improv class. Now I knew nothing about improv. When I entered, the teacher asked for two volunteers, for two people to step up on stage. I was there to learn something new, so I went up. And the only instruction that the teacher gave us was to say yes or to react to whatever information that was given to us and, and just have fun. Within a few seconds, I found myself in this ridiculous scene where I had a long lost twin who had never bothered to stay in touch and who was asking for my left kidney so he could continue to live. I'll spare you all the crazy details of the scene, but that one class had me hooked. And I went there again and again every week till I was there in Russia. A few years later, when we moved to Beijing, China, this time I was prepared. I looked up the local improv workshops and started going there as soon as we got there. In a few weeks, the local English troupe found me and they asked me to join them. Now, by then, I had my plate full. I had a toddler, a thriving career, and a partner who constantly traveled for work. But I decided to say yes, just like my first teacher had taught me to, and decided to figure out the how later. The next year was full of performances every 2 weeks, lots of international festivals, and friendships that I still hold very close to my heart. Improv not only gave me a place where I felt that I belonged in a completely new country, it also gave me a philosophy or an antidote to overthinking. Don't self-reject. That's a picture of me on stage in improv, so you believe me. But that antidote to overthinking or self-reject is what I hope to bring to all of you today. Alright, so let's start with an improv game. Ready? Yes. Say yes. Yes. Again? Yes. Super. So the game is simple. I'm going to point to some of you in the audience, and your job is to say yes to that opportunity and respond. Don't think, don't overthink. Just give me the first honest reaction that comes to you. Fair enough? And make it super loud. It's a big room. We want to listen to you. Cool. Alright, so the first person, a spaceship just landed in front of you. How do you react?
Oh my God, I'm going to see my family again.
Oh. I was not expecting that. Alright, second one. To you. A ghost just whispered your name. What do you say in return?
Oh my God.
I would probably faint. Very brave of you. Alright, the third one. For you, in blue. You open the fridge and see something moving. What do?
I believe there's something here in the menu.
Ooh, okay. I'm a vegetarian, but I like it. Alright, the last one. A tiny alien just landed on your shoulder. What will you say to it?
Get off there.
Okay, of course. My shoulder's not a seat. Superb. I love this. And I wish we had more time to play a longer game. And I didn't know that we had so many amazing actors in this room. However, you see what happened? You all gave yourself permission to respond without thinking, without second guessing. It was fun, it was spontaneous, and it works every single time. Why? Because there is no instructional manual that can ever tell you how to react if you see a spaceship land in front of you. And such is life. Life throws curveballs at you. It gives you problems, challenges, dilemmas. And the last time I checked, there is no instructional manual for life either. So, with that in mind, I have lived my life for so many years. Now let me take you to an experiment that was done a few years ago. A few years ago, Princeton professor Burton Malkiel wrote a book called A Random Walk Down the Wall Street. And in that, he said that a bunch of blindfolded monkeys throwing darts at finance newspapers can pick a portfolio that will perform as well as the one very carefully, meticulously picked up by finance experts. Now, he said it and he probably forgot about it. But what happened next wasn't something that he had expected. A series of experiments started, right from Wall Street Journal to lots of universities that started experimenting with monkeys picking stocks. Some of them had blindfolded monkeys, like he had suggested. Some of them had celebrity monkeys circling names of companies on newspapers on live television. And a few also created software programs that mimicked how monkeys would randomly pick a stock. Shame on them, taking jobs away from monkeys. But in the end, turned out Malkiel was right. The monkeys indeed won. Why would that happen? Now, of course, at that time the market was going up. But the market was going up for both the monkeys and the financial experts. So monkeys had no edge. But you know why they won? Because the finance experts, they got into the whole complex analysis of picking the perfect stock every time, let their emotions take control when it was time to buy or sell any of the stocks. Whereas monkeys, they just picked the stock in a bullish market and moved on. Didn't think twice about it. So I'm not saying that you should give your financial future away to a chimp. But I'm definitely saying that there is something to say about this mindless wisdom, this contradiction that often works, because action often beats analysis. And that's why very often I find myself thanking my teacher in Russia who taught me to say yes. God bless her. Because my life has been unusual at best. I've lived in 8 countries and I've worked there. And my career, I've been a learning instructor, I've been a website designer, I've been a mehendi artist, I've been a lactation educator, I've also gotten paid to do handwriting analysis for people once. Now, did I sit down and meticulously plan out every career move or decide where I was going next? Of course not. Every time I faced an opportunity that appealed to me, I asked myself 2 questions. Is it irreversible? And what's the worst realistic outcome? And if the answers to these 2 questions were no and nothing much, I would go ahead and give it a try. These were the 2 questions that helped me build this unbelievable, incredible, and fulfilling career over the years. Something that I couldn't have done if I had overthought every step. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you need to say yes to every idea or every opportunity. Because these were the same questions that helped me think deeply and take a good decision when I decided to become a mother. Because was it irreversible? Absolutely not. Parenting is one thing there's no U-turn from. Once a parent, always a parent. And 2, if I wasn't emotionally ready, that could have had serious psychological impact on my child. So I only did it when I was absolutely ready, both financially and emotionally. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't think, but overthinking, that's where the problem begins. That's where we start self-rejecting and stopping ourselves even before we take the first step. Now let me tell you the story of how I stumbled into these 2 questions. Years ago, I was in this regular 9 to 5 managerial job until one day I saw one of my neighbor's kids going to school with face paint on. And I looked at him and I said, ugh, that's such a terrible face paint. Now, apart from being super judgmental to my poor unsuspecting neighbor, I did one more thing. I actually went to an art supply shop and got some face paints, invited my friends over, and tried it on them. Turned out I was indeed pretty good. professional level even. So I decided to start small, and I approached my neighbors and local malls to see if I could go and face paint there. It quickly blew up. Very soon, I started getting invitations for educational fairs and large events to go and do face painting. So much that I was using all my free time from my office to do this side gig. I did it, I loved it. And I continued for a couple of years till we decided to move to another country. But till then, I had rediscovered this artist in me. The next thing I knew, I was in Mexico City, Mexico, and I was there without a job. On a whim, I went into a hard rock cafe there, met the general manager by chance, and while chatting with him, pitched the idea of making mehndi or henna. And he said yes. Next thing I knew, I was their in-house mehndi or henna artist, and in the next 3 months, I had made enough money to go to Cancun for a trip. Now it didn't stop there. Fast forward a few more years, and I had just finished my MBA. A friend of mine who thought I was creative connected me to Ericsson. The HR team there was looking for somebody to gamify their learning programs. Now, in I went with my baby in my arms, no prototypes, no pitch decks, just a brain full of ideas. I know Shark Tanks will laugh at me, but that was me pitching my idea there. That one meeting was the starting of a business that I ran successfully for 8 years. Now, when I look back at my life and thought about why I had all these seemingly crazy ideas worked out, I realized that I was asking these two questions. And these are the questions that helped me make a good decision in all these cases. What was it irreversible? All of these things, making mehndi designs, painting faces, even attempting to create a fun learning experience for a company, were completely irreversible. I could always go back to what I was doing. And what was the worst realistic outcome? I say realistic here, okay? Because of course the absolute worst outcome could be different. If I was super unlucky, one of the customers at Hard Rock Cafe could have been a cartel member, and when I messed up their design, they could have pulled out a gun and shot me. Right. But that was highly, highly unlikely. So realistically, nobody would have liked my designs and they would refuse to pay me. Or Ericsson would probably hate the program that I created for them and never hire me again. And I could totally live with all those outcomes. So I gave myself permission to go ahead and try them. Because self-rejection can cause so much more damage than failure ever will. It stops us from believing in ourselves. It takes away our decisiveness. It feeds our imposter syndrome and stops us from taking any action even before we begin. Now let me ask in this room, how many of you have ever had a great idea but you talked yourself out of it? Show of hands. How many of you have had a great idea but you talked yourself out of it? Wow, so many of you. And I know some of you who haven't raised your hands. I'm sure you're amazing. But most of us, as human beings, we make this mistake. I see too many painful examples of this in my line of work when I work with women who want to restart their careers. Through my book and workshop, when I work with them, I realize that these are highly intelligent, qualified, motivated women who know they want to make a change. And yet, they let their self-doubt do all the talking and stop themselves from taking that first crucial step for years. Now that's about careers and improv. What about we take this philosophy of don't self-reject and used it on bigger things than just ourselves? What about we thought about bigger problems like poverty, hunger, gender equality, climate change, and decided to act with urgency instead of waiting for the perfect solution? Because your imperfect idea or imperfect solution could actually be something the world has been waiting for all along. And if you find yourself if you see that your brain is playing tricks and overthinking, you now have two filters. Ask yourself, is it irreversible? And what's the worst realistic outcome? And if the answer is that it's reversible and it's not going to hurt anyone, why not give it a shot? Thank you.